Welcome to the final section of this academic resource walkthrough. In this section, we will be covering how to purchase books from the UNM Bookstore. So once again, and finally, I will be sharing my screen one last time. And this time we will be going to bookstore.unm.edu. So go ahead and put that in any web browser of your choosing, and it will bring you here to the UNM Bookstore homepage. So before we delve into this, I just want to make it clear that it is not a requirement to purchase your books from the UNM Bookstore. If you can find books cheaper and somewhere else, either like online through Amazon or through a friend, I completely recommend doing so. I won't lie, I've shopped at the bookstore several times and I found that their prices are generally a little bit higher than most other places. But of course, you have to take into consideration too, like how much do places like Amazon or like other online platforms charge you for shipping. So sometimes it's worth it to buy from the bookstore, and sometimes it is not worth it to buy from the bookstore. It really just depends on your situation. Um, Something to take into consideration too is whether you're in that golden week or not. I don't know if you remember that from a previous section of this video, but the golden week is what I'm referring to as that first week of classes where you are adding or dropping classes to finalize your schedule. Let's say on Friday, at the very last day of the golden week, you drop a class and then you add one. So the following week, you need a book like ASAP because your professor is already going to start using the book for the class. In cases like that, you would probably have to use the UNM bookstore to get your book as soon as possible. The unfortunate thing with the UNM bookstore, though, is that the UNM bookstore, of course, can run out of books. So if you have to put a back order in order to get that book on time, then at that point, I would just recommend getting Amazon, especially if you have Amazon Prime. You can get your books, with 2-day shipping the majority of the time. So just like assess your situation and do whatever it is that is best for you. I always just recommend trying to save as much money as possible, which I will cover a little bit more later in this section. So to actually look at what books you need for the class, there are two ways to do it. You can go to the UNM bookstore physically, go to the second store of the bookstore and get your book list, which you will need your UNM ID number for. Remember, that's your 9-digit ID number that is on your admissions letter. If you will not be going to campus this semester, what you can do instead is you can look for what books you need online. So in order to do that, go ahead and navigate to this menu button on the top left corner, and you're going to navigate to the course materials section here. Under this column, there's a link that says buy course materials. Go ahead and click on that. So once you're here, it'll give you some other links that you can click on. Of course, it's just another way to familiarize yourself with the UNM bookstore, get more information. What we're mostly interested in is this button here that says Shop Direct from the UNM bookstores in red. Go ahead and click on that. And again, it's just going to give you more information, letting you know that you can charge books to your student bursar account, which I covered in the bursar account section of this video. So let's go ahead and click on Shop Direct from the UNM bookstores. And so this is going to be very, very similar to the UNM schedule of classes in that you're going to pick which campus that you are attending. You're going to select the term. In this case, it's the fall 2020 that I'm recording this video. And then you're going to pick the subject that you need the book for. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my Japanese class. And then you're going to pick what course number your class is in. So I'm in the 301 level. And then you're going to pick your section and your professor. So in this case, only one section is being offered of this Japanese 301 class with this professor. So I'm going to click on her. And then you're going to see here under the selected courses, think of this as the summary. It's showing you how many classes you added to your course summary. So I'm going to go ahead and click on choose books. You can add several classes there if you so choose. Here, let me explain the substitution policy. So basically, if you want to buy a new textbook and the bookstore runs out of stock, what they can do instead is they give you the option to substitute a new textbook for a used textbook. I'm not sure what the implications are that in terms of money. I'm not sure if they will charge you less money for giving you a used textbook. I am really not sure. And that's primarily because I always buy my textbooks used for several different reasons, which I'll explain here in a second. So choose whichever option you feel most comfortable with. If you're not sure, I highly recommend choosing the last option that says, I will choose which books may be substituted. That way you have a say in the matter. So go ahead and click on that. And then it's going to bring up a list of books. You'll see that there's going to be several tabs here. So if I added several different classes, like 3, 4, 5 classes, they'll be here. Class 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. So you can go ahead and click on the class that you want to look at. And so from here, I can see which books I need and which options I have. Please note that UNM does list optional books as well if your professor recommends it. And they will clarify that within this section here where it says like copyright author, so on and so forth. It'll mention that this is an optional book. So looking at the textbooks, these are my options. I have new rental, used rental, and then I can clarify if I want a substitution or not. The reason why I recommend choosing used books, one is because of course you save money, and you know, as an international student, you're already paying all these extra fees, you know, and you're probably paying non-resident tuition. So the more money you can save, the better. But another reason why buying used textbooks is pretty awesome is because it can be an additional study material for you. I found that when I've had a used textbook, some people have already written in the textbook, and you know, I use their notes as a way to compare like my notes and understanding the material, which helps me study for my tests. Of course, if you're the kind of person who doesn't like their textbooks to be written in, or if you want something new, that's completely fine. Just choose the new option. So the way the rental system works is that you pay a little bit less money for the book. In this case, I don't know, like around $7 or so, because of the 99 cents there. And then at the end of the semester, you have to return the book in good shape. If the book is not in good shape, I'm not sure what will happen. I don't know if they'll charge you a fee for the book being, you know, written in or something. I'm really not sure because, like I said, I always use the used option. You can choose the used rental as well. I wouldn't really recommend it. I don't know, it's just your preference really. I'm the kind of person I like to hold on to my books, especially if I know that I will probably use these textbooks in a future class, which in this case, these Japanese classes, we use these textbooks every single class. So for me, it's better to get the book used and pay $12 more than to pay used rental and then have to rent the book every single year. And I would spend way more money renting the book than actually owning the book. One last thing I want to mention about the bookstore is that UNM has started this new program. It's called Red Shelf. And Red Shelf is when the class will already come with the textbook. It's an online textbook, and they will charge it to your bursar account. Something to be careful with this is that you want to make sure that you ask your professor if you absolutely need to have the Red Shelf. I always like to give my personal story on this. So when they first implemented this Red Shelf system, even the professors were unsure of like how the system was going to work. So one of my professors, her class was set up with the Red Shelf, and she told everybody in the class that we were required to buy the physical textbook too. And so we ended up buying the physical textbook, which was about $100. And then I didn't realize it, but on my Red Shelf, on my bursar account, I was charged another $100, even though the physical textbook came with a code for the Red Shelf. And that's because with the red shelf, you have to make sure that you opt out of it if you absolutely do not need it in your class. Um, and of course, you just want to make sure with your professors too, just make sure and see if red shelf is a requirement. In that case, there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you can't opt out of the book if it's a requirement. Um, but if the professors are willing to let you get the book physically and not use the online red shelf version of the book, then you have to make sure that you opt out of it. That way you do not get charged um, double, basically, for buying the physical book and the online red shelf book.